Okay, so for today's video, I want to jump into a bit of a deep dive about what Angela Rayner's recent resignation really means. So you turn on the news in the last couple of days and you'll see probably two headlines at once. The first one would say resignation and the other says scandal. But this isn't just about one stamp duty mistake. It's basically a political earthquake. It's going to shake Labour to its core. And I don't think they realise the impact that this is going to have, especially after all of the other scandals that have happened with their members since they've taken power. So it has only been about, what, 14 months, something like that. And already there have been massive questions raised about accountability and trust within the Labour Party. And also, of course, who's actually running the show in Westminster. I'm not even sure that Keir Starmer knows. So today I'm going to quickly explain what happened, why it matters, who is likely to replace her, and the list of controversies that have left Labour basically battered. I mean, they've been absolutely bonny blued in the press. Let's make no bones about it. So let's get into it. So what happened? Well, here are the facts. Angela Rayner basically resigned as the Deputy Prime Minister, the Housing Secretary, and the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party after admitting, finally, that she failed to pay the correct rate of stamp duty on her seaside flat in Brighton. That was around £800,000. So she's about 40k in the hole with that particular error, shall we say. So basically, it comes down to being a massive breach of the ministerial code and also, of course, ethics. And I think that the Prime Minister's ethics advisor actually flagged this. So her resignation letter made the toll on her family and the political pressure also very clear. So that's the immediate trigger. Now, I guess what does this mean for Angela Rayner? Is she going to be taking another job in government? Are we going to see her on the tills at Lidl? Who knows? Well, I suppose realistically, politically, resignation is a bit like a nuclear football. It removes her from the power now. It doesn't necessarily end her career, even though some might say it probably should. There are some consequences to watch for. So there's, apart from anything else, the damage to reputation, which is massive. I mean, at this point, she's been sort of lambasted as a hypocrite because for the last probably 3 or 4 years, she's been calling for the resignation from pretty much everybody in the Tory party through that period, including, I think at one point, Boris Johnson. So she's very quick to point the finger, and now the level of hypocrisy that she faces and the damage that's going to do to her reputation is massive. There are obviously sort of other consequences. So what about the damage among the voters, the people that expect and demand, and rightly so, high ethical standards? There's going to be reduced influence that she'll carry in any upcoming reshuffles if she still has a place in government. And there is a possibility that she may either regroup as one of the backbench voices or attempt to return once this story fades away, which could be a while. I don't imagine it will probably happen while Labour are still in power. So it could be a good few years before this is behind her. There are proper political commentators, not me, that have already said it will be hard for her to hold the same level of trust and authority inside Parliament, certainly in the short term. So she needs a more long-term goal if she's going to get back in government whatsoever. So the immediate impact that this has on the Labour Party, and I must say straight off the cuff that I'm not Labour, I'm not Tory, I'm not even Reform. My view is very simple. I'm basically a political, I guess, political atheist or agnostic or whatever you want to call it. I firmly believe that no matter who you put in, they're all going to have their snout in the trough in the same way to benefit themselves at the expense of us, the working person. I don't think there will ever be a truly fair government. I think you probably need something like the Jedi Council. In fact, to be honest, if there was a Jedi Council, I'd probably vote for the Jedi Council. That's who I'd rather see in charge of the UK. But basically, the immediate impact on Labour, it's a bit of a double problem, because for Keir Starmer, he's got to replace his deputy leader and deputy prime minister mid-term, or almost mid-term. So that forces a reshuffle, which the government has, in fact, already begun. It also risks amplifying narratives of chaos and poor vetting with the leadership at the top, including Keir Starmer. So it's kind of damaging his reputation by proxy. It's like he's taking flack from this as well. So the reshuffle that followed Rayner's exit the other day has moved some big names around, and it also aims to steady the ship, or so they say. It also, though, at the same time, underlines fragility at the heart of the government, and that's not anything that's going to inspire confidence amongst the populace. So you should expect short-term polling damage, headlines about the crisis and the opposition, obviously the Tories, Reform, any other parties, Advance UK, they're all going to use this. Of course they will. They'll use it mercilessly. So I'm guessing that some of the backlash from them could be quite comical that's coming forward amidst all the seriousness of what, and the gravity of what's actually happened. So realistically, who may replace her? So there are several figures that have been named as potential successors. There are front benchers. You've got Shabana Mahmood, you've got Emily Thornberry, obviously Ed Miliband, the famous for his love of net zero, famous also for costing us billions. And you've got ministers who have been floated as fits for deputy roles, as cabinet upgrades and everything else, all in line with the reshuffle. There are other suggestions to look for. You've got Matthew Pennycrook, Rayner's deputy, who's also part of the housing brief. So he's a logical inside candidate, though he does lack cabinet experience. But whoever gets the job, are they going to shift the balance of influence inside the cabinet? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think so myself. You need a hardened operator, someone that's going to prioritise discipline, someone that's going to be whiter than white, somebody that can work the media, whilst consensus could obviously calm the party. That could be a good pick, but it might leave them risking appearing very weak, that they've just settled. And I don't think, again, that's going to help the current government to inspire confidence in their leadership. So what does this mean for the government policy in the UK? Well, on everyday policy, the immediate effects are probably quite limited. Civil servants will keep working, departments will continue, quangos will still have their place, and obviously, politically, the effects are probably a bit larger. So there's been a credibility hit that I've mentioned. Labour's message on ethics and standards is now massively hurt by such a high-profile breach. It makes it harder to sell moral arguments and also to clamp down on bad behaviour elsewhere. It's also a distraction. A reshuffle consumes attention, which is obviously a currency. And this is a big problem because it forces the PM to focus on the personnel instead of delivering on promises. And we know how he likes to deliver on promises. Or was that somebody else? Maybe. There's also a massive risk at the election. And as if there wasn't a big enough one already, the public perceives this as incompetence. Of course, they perceive it as hypocrisy, and rightly so. And Labour's support is literally going to slip through their fingers in the key marginals, and we're going to see this. It's going to mean that rivals are going to capitalise on the chaos. Early polling commentary already says that the flags are falling and that the bell has been rung. So as if there weren't enough issues, this has exacerbated them. The pattern really is that Labour scandals are just a thing, and there have been numerous ones since taking power. So let's not forget you've had the gifts and freebies controversy, which was about undeclared gifts that Keir Starmer had to pay back. That was about £6,000 worth, and that was within about a week or a fortnight of taking power. Donations and donor influence has been a big thing. You've got multiple ministerial departures. So it's just been an uphill struggle. So there were massive ones in the early months as well. So the Rayner episode has just amplified what seems to be a running theme. So how can Labour respond? Is there really a response that they can offer that the general public are going to actually buy? Or are we just going to perceive this as being damage limitation and more bullshit? I don't think that they can do much damage control because it will be perceived as spin. They need to do clear action. So there needs to be a transparent process. They need to publish their findings publicly. They need to be upfront. They need to show that standards apply to everybody and that nobody is in an ivory tower. They need to do a smart reshuffle. Pick replacements that are competent, that are trustworthy, that have already got public trust and that value that hold themselves to higher standards than the likes of Angela Rayner. They need policy focus. They need to shift the public conversation back to things that they can win. And the most obvious things that they can win on, the only thing, in my opinion, as a humble, I guess, commentator on the internet, as it were, the only thing that's going to save Labour for the next, 20-something months is going to be sorting the migrant crisis. And the solution to that is absolutely simple. Everybody knows what the solution is, and yet they're not even looking into it. They need to sort the migrant crisis, and they need to basically put net zero on hold. That fixes all of the black holes that Rachel Reeves is facing, and probably saves her job as well, because let's face it, she's made a proper pig's ear of it since she's been the Chancellor. But those two things alone would be enough, probably, to save face and also public opinion. I feel that the UK is at tipping point right now. I don't think anybody could deny that the protests that are going on outside the hotels, all of the political commentary around that, and you see it almost hourly on Talk TV, on GB News, coming up Mirror Online and all the rest of it. They've all got their own spin on it. I don't lean one way or the other, but I can sit outside of the box and see the solution to the problem. So quite why Labour aren't seeing the solution to the problem is beyond me. It's almost like they want it to happen, like it's happened by design and there's a grander scheme afoot that perhaps we're not being made aware of. So I wax lyrical, but basically they're going to have to pull their fingers out and regain public trust in a massive way. And it's not just Angela Rayner's fault, it's really the whole party. It's endemic. The bigger picture for this is that the resignation is serious. It weakens an individual, yes, but it also unsettles the party. And that creates an opening for political opponents. It creates an opening for huge public commentary. It's not necessarily fatal, but governments, they do survive scandals when they act swiftly and when they act sensibly, cleanly, and in the public interest, and then deliver on policy. They need those wins. They're the wins that they want. They're the wins they should focus on. For Labour, the test is basically going to be simple. Can they steady the ship? Can they show accountability? Can they then prove competence in the many weeks ahead whilst this fiasco is getting sorted out? If they can, then this might be a very painful but ultimately barely survivable chapter. So, look, what would you do if you were in Keir Starmer's position? As I said, I'm not leaning one way or the other. I don't support any party. But what's the answer? Is there a way out? Has the writing been put on the wall? Has the bell been rung? Has the damage been done? My gut says that it's probably just about salvageable right now, if he acts right now. But I think much longer and it's not going to be enough. And further proof of that is obviously for Rachel Reeves again. She's moved the budget to probably the latest that a budget has ever been. I've never heard of one at the end of November. I mean, Jesus, that much bad news that close to Christmas, really? Typically, the budget is around the end of September, beginning of October. So she's dilly-dallied it by about 6 or 7 weeks. That is absolutely unheard of. Now, obviously, again, public opinion is that she's done this because she wants to see if something's going to magically fall out of the pot, or maybe Elon Musk is going to generously donate, a load of his net worth to save Labour. I honestly think that she's dropping the ball on this one as well, and I honestly think that come November, if she's not gone before then, I think she'll be gone very shortly after, because I see that move as an act of cowardice. She should have realised the black hole straight away, and again, should have just come out, acted upon it, created a sensible solution, cancel net zero, whatever it takes, and get it fixed. That would have restored public faith in her. That would have saved face, and it will likely save her job. But we all know that she's not going to do that. So, anyway, what are your thoughts on all of this? What are your thoughts on the scandal and debacle that is the current Labour Party? So drop it down below. YouTube is going to put a video there. Like, follow, subscribe, ring the bell, all that jazz, and there will be another video tomorrow. Goldman, peace out.